Welcome to my tutorial for Dead End City on hard mode for the Series X. And this took me around 7 hours, 23 minutes to beat on hard. And normal took me around an hour and 15 minutes. So hard mode was quite a bit more difficult. You know, even with the practice I had from normal mode, hard mode still took me a while. Mainly I would fuck up on the semifinal and final bosses. That's what gave me the most trouble. You know, since there's no save state practice, you just have to learn it as you play it and just keep, making full attempts, getting back there and getting a few seconds of practice in, and then repeating the full game. The full game's only about 30 minutes, if you don't fuck up. I recommend using this car that I'm using here called Rafe, which you can unlock either by 30,000 in-game dollars, in the store, or the easiest way to do it and fastest way to do it is to complete the second boss, the conductor, with no damage. And then after you do that, you'll be able to challenge your rival right away. And it's a pretty easy fight where you just shoot the other car down and drain its health bar. Now, there won't be any boss health bars until you unlock that feature in the shop, so I recommend unlocking that since it is useful to be able to see how much health the bosses have. This is a great vertical shooter with some unique mechanics. Basically, you stay alive. You have only one life. There's no continues. If you die, it's game over. But the way you stay alive is you collect fuel cans, and your fuel drains slowly with time, but it also drains when you get hit. It's your life bar as well. So you have to keep that up. And I wasn't reading the instructions for a while, which I think it took me longer to beat normal because of that. But one of the big mechanics of the game is if you don't actually use your special moves, you have a regular shot and a special move. If you don't use your special moves, that's actually the best way to play the game for the most part, because eventually what will happen is once you have a full health bar and full special, meaning you have both of your special moves filled up and you're not using them, and that's shown below your car. Now there's another car that has 4 special moves. So that one I don't really like because I'm unable to generate health as quickly because, I have to fill up those special moves to max capacity before I can get the health bonus. So the way it works is once you fill up your special moves to capacity, like see I got 2 special moves in reserve because I'm not using them. Basically for this car it's a bomb, which can be fairly useful, but it doesn't do a ton of damage to bosses, but it can help a little bit to damage multiple parts of a boss or something like that. Or take out the medium enemies that take a few shots. But I don't really feel like it's worth using on regular enemies. And the reason why is because if you keep your special moves filled to full capacity and you have full health, it goes into top-off mode, which not only does it give you more weapon power, meaning your regular shots do more damage, but it will also mean that when you kill enemies, you pick up fuel cans. So you'll see that I'm constantly picking up fuel cans off the enemies, and the reason that's important is because that'll keep you alive. And that even carries into the boss fights, because when you destroy parts of the bosses, I think you get extra health if you're in that health mode. Health generating type of mode, basically. So the way to get there, like I said, is very simple. It means just don't use your special moves. And I think as long as you have your special moves full, I don't even know if you need to have your health full for you to generate gas cans off of enemies when you kill them. So the main idea is like as long as you don't use your special weapons, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? You'll be able to generate health. So I recommend keep that in mind. Don't use them unless maybe you need them on a boss or something, and then you'll have to wait until you generate your specials back again by picking up ammo and shit to where you can generate health again like that. So there is a little bit of a waiting period. It's not too long, but if you're going to be struggling on a part, and you need health for that part, then you don't really want to waste your specials, for the next. So in the next part, you want to start generating health as soon as possible. So here, what I did was I edited my no damage runs on 2 of the bosses into this run. Since it's a tutorial, it's just to demonstrate. So for this first boss, you can stay along these side rails here where that dirt trail is on the right side for his attack, where he shoots out all that spread of shots. You can stay off to the right and they'll all miss you, and then you can come back and fire on him again, and you just dodge his main shot and just keep looping that, as you saw me getting it into a cycle there for that last form. Prior to that, you're mainly just fighting him in human form, and you just got to dodge what he puts out and just try to put damage on him, basically. But it's really not a hard fight. It did take me a while to get it with no damage, like you see there. I would always fuck up something, but it's a pretty easy fight. But that's the main mechanic of the game, really, to know is, you want to keep generating health so you can stay alive longer. So I recommend not using your specials unless you really need to, but I would try to learn the game to the point where you don't need to use them. Unless for like the final boss or one of the harder bosses, then feel free to use them a little bit to give yourself a little breathing room. Because remember, if you destroy parts of the boss by using bombs or just by destroying them normally, you're going to get fuel cans out of that. So that will help you stay alive. So you may need to do it in an emergency. You may need to use a special if you're about to die. Don't be afraid to use it. But the general idea, like I said, is to try to keep that shit full and check the instruction manual, the little digital manual built into the game, because it explains that mechanic better than what I'm doing here. My problem was I don't like to read that shit, so I didn't read it, and I think I got kind of far into hard mode before I even read that, and then I was like, oh shit, I was making it much harder on myself because I wasn't getting that much health back, because I was using my specials quite a bit. I didn't realize there was a penalty for using them as far as, not getting as much health pickup. So these guys can be kind of dangerous because they can spawn right on top of you if you don't know where they're coming from. You always want to shoot these side train cars because they always give you a lot of health back. So whenever you see those, try to kill them to get your health back if you need it. I mean, you're always going to want to get health anyway because it drains continuously with time. So you always do want to get it. Now, there is also something you can unlock that shows the hitbox, which you'll see. I do have that activated on one of the boss fights, but it didn't really help me. The hitbox is pretty big. It's most of the vehicle. There's a little bit on the sides of the vehicle that doesn't take damage from bullets. But for the most part, you want to avoid bullets with your whole vehicle for the most part. So I didn't really worry about the hitbox indicator because I just try not to, I try to avoid the bullets fully. You don't always want to squeeze between bullets like you would in some of these games. I mean, you can if there's some space, but there's times when it's a little bit too close together. So the way the game pretty much works is the first part of the stage is basically Galaga style, where you have to defeat, like, say, 7 waves of enemies, right? I think it's 6 waves. No, 7 waves. So you got to destroy 7 waves of enemies in the first part of the stage. And the whole game is pretty much auto-scroller, where the screen scrolls automatically, even with the bosses. But the bosses, the screen scrolls, but you're pretty much in a fixed fight. So I guess you could say, like a lot of old arcade games, it becomes kind of a fixed fight when you're fighting the boss. But aside from that, the game is an auto-scroller. So first off, you're starting off with Galaga style, which you basically just take out waves of enemies, and when you clear each wave, it goes to the next wave. Very much like Galaga. Then, once you beat that stage, you go to kind of an auto-scroller, but it's like a driving stage where you got to navigate around some obstacles and stuff, and you're taking out enemies as you're driving around. You see there's actually like shit to drive around. You have to kind of maneuver a bit more. So, and the enemies are not really in like Galaga-style patterns clumped together like they are in what I would call the Galaga-style stages. These enemies are more, they're more free-balling it. They're fucking out there all over the fucking place. They're in windows. They're all over the place. So that's the difference with these. This is the second part of every stage is like this in this format. And then the third part of the stage is the boss fight. So that's how the stages work. And it keeps things interesting. Also, it is an old-style game that you can memorize a lot of the positionings and where bullets are going to come out. So you will get better the more you play. But I would say that the first card the game starts you with is harder to use, I think. I found I was taking more damage. I wasn't damaging the bosses as fast unless I used my specials with the first car. So I really would recommend getting this vehicle, the Wraith. I recommend, this was the best one I used for me. I didn't unlock the laser guy. There's one more car I didn't unlock, but it's $70,000 in the store, and I just didn't have the money. And you have to beat one of the harder bosses with no damage to unlock it if you don't want to pay for it in the shop. You can unlock all the vehicles by beating, any of the bosses no damage, and then beating the rival fight that comes afterwards. But I wasn't able to. I was only able to beat 2 of the bosses no damage in my regular playing. I mean, some of them I did pretty well on, but I didn't get them with no damage. But if you can beat this boss with no damage, you'll unlock the card that I recommend for playing through the game. So try to learn this guy. So first, it's pretty easy. Just stay between the bullets, and when you see the bombs are about to come down, just get away from the circle where the bomb is going to hit. It shows where the bomb is going to drop. So this first form is pretty easy. You got to just learn where to position yourself to get in between the bullets. Same type of thing here, except now you got these sidecars shooting at you. You can see the hitbox I have on the car, but it didn't really help. But yeah, same thing there, except they add those sidecars. So of course you got to get used to the bullet patterns with the sidecars. So now the only thing added is you got these. This is actually an easier one because all you got to really dodge mainly is the flames, and you just can stay on the outer edge of the flame. The game wants you to kind of go in the middle and drive through them and kind of wave around, with your car, going left and right, but you don't have to do all that. And there are some safe spots, as you can see. I was sitting at one of the safer spots on the side of some of the bullets, like the bullets in the barrel. There's sometimes a little safe gap, but it's pretty much just learning. You know what I mean? Learning the positioning. And that's no damage, but if you get it with no damage, you'll unlock that Wraith car. So I do recommend doing that. So here you're going to see what happens when you first beat a boss with no damage. You're going to get a rival fight right away. Now, I don't know if you can game over in this because I never lost one of these. But it's a very easy fight, and once you beat the rival, you'll get the car to use in the selection screen at the beginning of the run. So it is worth unlocking the cars to see what you like. But this car right here is the one that I ended up using, this Wraith. You mainly just want to dodge, obviously. Try to grab the health when you can, just to stay alive. But it's really not too hard. I actually tried out a bunch of different controllers for this game. I was trying out modded joysticks and various controllers. I ended up liking this FlyDigi Apex 4 controller. It has a really clicky D-pad. It actually felt great for this game. I was able to make really precise movements, so I like that a lot. But really, it's about learning the game. So now the main gimmick with this stage is these little mines that move around. So the way you deal with that is the thing you want to do for this whole stage is you want to prioritize taking out the mines. That's going to be your main focus. Each stage kind of has a little gimmick like that. For this, it's the mines. So, always focus on taking out the mines first because there's two benefits to that. One, they give you constant health back. So collect the gas canisters, but you want to take them out because they will cause the most problems, and they also give you health back. So just prioritize those, and then clean up the other enemies after you finish off the mines. But I would say prioritize the mines first. So you see me moving side to side to take out the mines. Like, first I clear them out on the right side, then I move to the left side, and wherever they happen to be. I also like to constantly move back and forth when I shoot at the mines because it makes sure that I get full coverage and I hit them in multiple areas as they kind of move around. So you'll see I kind of I'll move left to right when I'm below the mines just to make sure I shoot them all. It clears them out faster. So that's pretty much the main tip. With these vehicles that circle around, you can only hit them in the back, so you got to be careful when they get too close to you. You can easily get rammed because they won't take any damage, unless you're shooting them in the back. So eventually, if you get a combo going on for a long time and don't take any damage for a while, the enemies start turning into metals. And what that does is, if you collect the metals, you get more money towards upgrades and shit. Basically buying new vehicles and things like that. You also have to purchase hard mode in the shop where it says extras. There's a little shop. You don't get a shop in-game. It's, when you're outside of the game in the menus. But you use that as currency to unlock more shit. So, like I said, this Wraith car, you can unlock it for 30,000 medals. But it's probably easier just to get a no damage run on the second boss. Because it's pretty easy once you learn the patterns, and you can kind of see how I did it. But it will take practice probably. But yeah, you see I'm prioritizing the mines, and then I take out the enemies kind of secondary. Because the mines keep my health up, like I said, and they cause the most trouble because the mines will shoot out a triple shot for each one. So it can get really dense if you don't take them out immediately. Like for the second stage, I guess the biggest thing to be aware of was enemies can easily spawn on top of you, but that's kind of a thing that can happen throughout most of the game, so I don't know if I'd really call that the gimmick for that stage, but this stage definitely has kind of a gimmick that if you focus on it, it makes the stage a lot easier, and for me that was taking out the mines first. So another thing to keep in mind is that there's these explosive barrels that have a radius to their explosion. You'll see a circle around the barrels. That means the explosion will take out that whole area. So what you want to do is wait for these little men to go in that area and then hit the barrel, and that will kill the man on the top of the cannon. There's, you see, I wiped them all out. There was like 3 or 4 of them that I did that with, and that makes it a lot easier because they will constantly shoot at you for a long time. So it is useful to blow up those barrels when those guys are in that little radius. See, I missed it there, but that's the idea. But it does get pretty dense around this area, so you're going to have to do some pretty good dodging. Try to clear out what you can. You can skip these mines by going all the way in the upper right corner here. As far as dealing with the rocks, and then you can shoot this group that comes in there, but as far as dealing with the rocks, the best thing to do is to stay ahead of them before they come down, because it's very hard to judge where the rocks are going to roll to unless you memorize it. See, I got hit there. They do weird shit. So I messed it up there, but the idea is usually I will stay ahead of the rocks before they fall. I'll go all the way up to the top of the screen before they fall. There's also some hidden items that if you shoot certain areas reveal like some health and things like that, as you saw there. So for this boss, for the first form, you want to kind of memorize where the rocks are going to appear, because he'll shoot out these rocks, and you want to kind of get used to your positioning. So that takes a little practice. And that's mostly memorization. I never really do it perfectly. I mean, sometimes I don't get hit, but it's a little tricky. So now you kind of want to take out the sides for some health, but you're mainly focusing on the middle to take out the boss. And you can see I have the health bar unlocked, so I can see how much health the bosses have. But you mainly just want to move side to side, because he's going to do this huge shot that does a lot of damage to you, and he does it in kind of a rhythm. So you just got to get a feel for when he's going to do it. And as far as that, the clusters of bullets, you mainly just want to get on the sides of the bullets. You don't want to try to really go in between them too much. Just go on the sides, because they're pretty close together. You don't really have room to go in between them. And just take out the sides and get health that way. So that's all it is. So now on this stage, the game gets much more aggressive. It is going to show you where the motorcycle guys are going to spawn from on the bottom of the screen. So you got to take note of that, or they'll spawn on top of you and they'll ram into you in a chain and do a lot of damage. So you got to pay attention to that. But you're basically just firing your shots and letting them ride into your bullets. Just stay offset a little bit to the side, and they will kind of go into your bullets, and you can collect all the cans. Take out these dynamite guys when you get a chance, but focus on mainly the motorcycle guys first, because those are the ones rushing around. Kind of like with the mines, you want to focus on the motorcycle guys first in this stage. So I would say prioritize them. Because you see they shoot a lot of bullets, at least on hard mode, so it is easy to rack up a lot of damage. So like I said, I like to be offset a little bit to the side so that their bullets and they kind of miss me a little bit, and then I don't have to dodge as much. I try not to be like in the midst of their bullets, because that makes it a lot harder. But if you follow my advice, and if you're not wasting your special moves, and you're keeping your specials topped off, and your health too helps, because I think if you have your health topped off, you get like supercharged bullets, which helps a little bit. But more important than that to me is getting the health pickups constantly. So you do that by saving your specials, not using them. It makes a huge difference. It makes it a lot easier to survive. It may not help much on the boss fights. So for the boss fights, you may want to use a few of your specials, and you can get the ammo back in the next stage. You just got to survive until you refill your ammo, and then you can start getting those that health bonus again. So yeah, take out the motorcycle guys first. There's a limited amount of enemies, so you want to clear out the small guys. So do that shit first. Sounds like I got some fucking drilling going on here. So yeah, clear out the motorcycle guys first. The large enemies aren't too bad. You just want to avoid their bullets kind of in a clump. Don't try to get in between the bullets. The dynamite guys are not that dangerous, really. Take them out and just avoid the circle where the dynamite's going to land. They don't give you any health back, unfortunately, but the motorcycle guys will if you have your specials topped off. So same type of thing here. You may want to take out, you want to try to take out the large guys when you get a chance, but just make sure you're taking out the motorcycles as well. In this case, I'd say prioritize the large vehicles first in the beginning of this stage. And now you got these like little turret guys, these Gatling gun guys you want to try to take out. Just stay in between their bullets and make sure you're getting a little steady stream on them and you'll take them out. And they usually give you some fuel back. But the turret guys can be dangerous. The biggest threat is usually enemies spawning on your fucking ass and ramming into you. You got two Gatling gun guys there, so try to get between the bullets and try to line it up so you're taking both of them out at the same time with your bullet stream. Take out these little scragglers and just keep moving so that you're mobile. You can avoid the bullets easier than just staying in one spot. Because the bullets do kind of home in on your last position, so moving around does help. It's good to constantly move. You can also alter the bullet color in the menu if you have trouble seeing a certain color, but this really stood out for me. Watch out for the mines, but they take a while to explode, but when you drive over them, you will activate them, and they're going to explode shortly after. But just get out of there. Now that part gets a little dense, but you can get some health back. Not too bad. If you did what I said, you won't have too much trouble because you'll be getting your health back. Since you're not using your special weapons, you're going to get that health bonus. So that should help a lot. Now hopefully this fucking drilling doesn't get too loud. I'll be able to explain the rest of the game. So for this, take out this gun immediately. And you'll get a fuel canister. And then just focus on the fans. You can stay pretty close to them and kind of hug the edge of where the boss is and kind of stay close to it and focus on taking out the fans. You may want to take out some of the motorcycle guys because you will get health back from them. So it can be useful to take some of them out, collect some of the health. So the boss does get hard around this part. So now what you got to do is this part's easy. Stay on the sides and just stay in between the bullets and take out these little side guns. Start with the left or the right and, take them both out. But see, now this part gets tough. This is one of the hardest parts in the game, for me anyway. I like to stay all the way at the bottom and just kind of dodge side to side, but you really got to get used to it. And there's really no good way to explain it, I think. You just got to practice it and find where the gaps are and try to get a feel for it. So it's one of those difficult dodging sequences you got to just fucking learn, But it's doable. It's just, you may want to use some of your bombs if you're having trouble because you can really get wiped out easily on that part. Especially on hard mode, I think you might take more damage. I wasn't sure what the differences were on hard, just that it seemed quite a bit harder. I wouldn't get as far initially, but it's hard for me to tell you if it's faster or more aggressive. Probably, maybe you take more damage too. I didn't really do a comparison. I just know it was harder. Like I said, it only took me about an hour and 15 minutes to beat normal, and then it took me an additional 7 hours and 20 something minutes to beat hard. So I think it was quite a bit harder. Now we're getting near the end of the game. So now this is the final stage. So we have pretty aggressive motorcyclers on this stage, but the bullet streams get very aggressive. And now you have bombers. So the bombers will give you an indicator where the bomb trail is going to go. So you got to look for that and just move out of the area as the shadows go over the area. You should move out of the area. You don't want to be where the shadow just was of the plane. So you just want to move out of the way. So you got to kind of juggle that while you're dealing with all this other shit. So just be aware of it. I didn't find it too difficult, but this part could be aggressive. I could easily get wiped out on this part because of all the bullets. And if you're not getting health back fast enough. The last boss is going to be the toughest part because the last boss has a few tricky segments where it's really easy to take damage. And I definitely didn't master it, but I can give some tips. I don't have any great tips for the final boss, but I may be able to offer a few suggestions. I think the biggest piece of advice I gave in this tutorial was the way you get health back, which is easy to overlook, by not using your special weapons pretty much. And if you want more details on that, just look it up in a little digital manual. There's a little manual section in the game. So now this tutorial applies to also the Switch version, which I'm working on now. I'm actually working on normal. I made one failed attempt at normal mode, but I did get near the end. For some reason, it was harder for me, but it might be because, I'm starting fresh with a shittier vehicle. I didn't unlock anything yet. So I do think that's a little harder. I'm also kind of suspecting maybe the Switch port has some lag, or maybe it's just on the emulator it has some lag with the game, but maybe not. Hard to say. But yeah, same thing here. So now you got a bunch of tanks. Now, of course, the first thing I would say prioritize is, get your shots in on the large enemies, but make sure you're also clearing out the motorcycles at the same time. And also pay attention to where those airstrikes are going to come. You should always be, paying attention to that so you're on the move, as you saw me do there. I mean, this wasn't the tightest fucking run, you know what I mean? There was a lot of damage. Now, like I said, this is a tutorial, so the only thing I edited was I added in 2 of my boss fights that were no damage. That's the only thing I really added, and I showed one of the rival fights for unlocking the rival. But aside from that, this was my hard run. This is how my hard run actually went. I didn't edit anything else in except for the conductor boss fight and the unicorn, which is the first boss and the second boss. Those were the only bosses I got with no damage. So I wanted to showcase that. The conductor I had done several times with no damage, but I just chose one of my runs where it was no damage. But for tutorials, I will sometimes edit in better footage of my gameplay from either practice runs or failed attempts. Just to try to showcase how it goes when things go well. But it's definitely not meant to be like like this is how the run went or anything like that. I did post up the unedited run. I always post that shit up as well. So that's all on the channel, plus a bunch of failed attempts. So you can check all that out if you're interested. And I should be beating the Switch version soon, but I won't be making a tutorial again for the game. I wanted to wait until I beat hard mode to make a tutorial for the game. Since I was going to work on hard mode anyway, I figured, fuck it, let me just beat hard mode and I'll do the tutorial for hard. But as far as the Switch version, it's the same game, so I'll just post a normal run of that. I'll just beat it on normal, and then I'll be done with it. So this is the final stretch. You really just want to take out the enemies and get your health, and keep collecting health and taking out enemies. It's really no harder than some of the other stages were. I didn't find this to be harder than a lot of the other stages, but you got to be careful. You do got to stay between the bullets. Of course, take out the large enemies when you can, too, because they give you health. Another thing I failed to mention is whenever you see red areas, like these red things here on the left, that's going to give you health. So you probably figured that out anyway, but worth pointing out. But whenever you see those in the driving segments, be sure to shoot them and get a bunch of health back. So now this is the final boss. So this is the hardest part of the game. So first what we're going to do is we're going to start off either taking out the left or the right side and staying between the bullets. Wait for the sound. There's a rhythm to the sound of the wrecking ball. You got to feel the rhythm and then move. You want to move out of the way so they can't reach you, as you see me doing here. So there's a timing to it. It happens on the same timing each time, but you got to get used to the timing for it. And just stay in between the bullets and gun them down, collect the health. Now you want to take out these solar panels, but this is really tough because of the lasers and all the bullets. So this is where I start using my bombs to try to get rid of these solar panels faster. Because at this point I'm just trying to survive. So this is the only time when I use bombs in my whole run. So you see I'm down to almost no health. I almost died. Very close. And I was not good at dodging these bullets and shit, so I really just had to make the best of it. So these double cannons shoot out 3 huge bullets, and then you can get some shots in. So, that's a timing thing. Just wait for it, and then you can move back and take your shots. But you got to get between the bullets in the meantime, obviously. Now you got a ton of bullets going on with this asshole running around, so this is the final stretch. Remember, you can get some health back by shooting other shit that's on top of that vehicle, like the enemies and shit. You can get some gas tanks back. That kept me alive. So make sure you kind of like diverge a little bit off the path and shoot at the other enemies to get some of your health back. Because for me, it was just like a fight for survival. I really didn't have a good strat for it, and I didn't really do well at all. But I mean, look, I took 15 damage. I think that means I got hit like 15 times. That was a really shitty run, so I barely beat it. So I'm definitely not in a position to give great advice on it, but I can give you a general strat of what I did and what I tried to do. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to post up a review soon of the game as well, so stay tuned for that. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.